It is Sunday morning. It is November the 6th. I'm first warning meteorologist Eric Burris. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather, and of course, hopefully get your day started off on the right note. We're not going to talk as much about our local forecast today because there is trouble in paradise of sorts. We are watching a developing scenario. This is what has just been dubbed Invest 98. And over the next couple of days, Hurricane Center shows a very clear trajectory, looping it around and potentially bringing it toward us. So this is going to be a bit of a special edition of Coffee Talk. We're going to be chatting mostly in tropical mode because I want to make sure everybody knows what's going on. I want to make sure there is zero question, and if you have any questions, we can answer them. Here's the current scenario, okay? The hits, runs, and errors. There is convection bubbling up here, all right? It is north of Puerto Rico, brought some big rains to them yesterday. Over the course of the day today, we expect it to start lifting away from PR and start to get its act together. Today, tomorrow, development is anticipated, at which point in time, it starts to turn more toward Florida and then work our direction more and more and more, okay? In terms of timeline, we're looking, and I think that this is probably the best way to look at it. In terms of timeline, we're looking at today and tomorrow being time for development. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, it's models keying in on this and figuring out where it goes. Local impacts are more being dialed in. And then obviously Thursday, Friday, it's impacting us. That's kind of where we're at. Ashley's asking, are we thinking this is going to be bad like Ian? It's a little too early to really dial into much. So what we should do is just kind of give you an overview, okay? Where are we at? Let's pull up the American and GFS models. And here we are. This is Sunday morning. Excuse me, Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Both models showing something trying to get together, okay? Monday lunchtime. Both models showing tropical genesis, all right? In other words, development. Here's Tuesday, both models showing like a depression. This is where we start to see some differences because you end up seeing the GFS getting a little stronger than the European. The European is like depression, maybe storm. The GFS is like storm, maybe hurricane, okay? There is 9:30 p.m. Wednesday. That's the European making landfall. The GFS off the shoreline. That's like 6, 7 a.m. on Thursday, GFS making landfall as like a hurricane, and then both of them hanging out. Look at that. That's 7 a.m. Friday. Storm still in the area, and then finally starting to lift to the north. So where we're at, and this is kind of an interesting little idea, where we're at is both models, and this is different than Ian, of course, right? Both models are pretty consistent in terms of positioning, but you've got the GFS low-end hurricane. The European is more tropical depression, maybe tropical storm. So until we get this developing more and more, we just don't have a full picture on what can happen here. But what I can tell you is that, and we'll briefly bring this back into our Central Florida forecast, okay? But what I can tell you is the overarching idea that next couple of days, a few showers, not too bad, right? But look what happens Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're going to be raising up those rain chances, okay? Tracking the tropics, gusty winds, heavy downpours, the whole 9 yards, okay? In terms of rainfall, even the weaker end of the model plots are showing 3 to 5 inches of rain, whereas the GFS is more like 5 to 8 inches of rain. So yeah, there's an interesting weather scenario that's playing out. For today, beach showers coming inland, making their way inland. We're going with a 40% coverage of rain. Notice for tomorrow, we're going to kind of dry things out just a little bit because what ends up happening is that area of low pressure off of our east coast tries to rob all the moisture around, okay? And then for Tuesday and for Wednesday, the overarching idea is it just starts to turn stormy. We have to dial in exacts. We're a little too early for that, but we'll dial it in, okay? So that's where we're at right now. It's too early to discuss county by county impacts. It's too early to discuss, exact timeline, but I'm going to give you every bit of information that we have as of right now, okay? James is asking, so why is the GFS always coming out stronger? I've always wondered. Every computer model is different, you know? People react differently to different scenarios. So that's where you're at. Rosebud says that the Euro has it coming straight for me. I think I like the GFS better today. Well, in the GFS run, the European run, they're each going to change from run to run to run, and we're going to look at the raw model data coming up, okay? All right, just so that you know. All right, let's see here. Cruise departing Monday after arriving Coco Key Tuesday. Rough seas. Mike, I would say rough seas, but I would also say that they'll probably, in this timeline, you know, they're not going to keep a cruise ship in the vicinity of a developing tropical system, okay? Will the weather be the same for the Treasure Coast? To some extent, yes. I mean, you know, I think at this point, exact landfalls or anything like that, we just don't have an idea. I do want to point out, I was just pulling up, oh, sugar, I just lost it, of course. Stand by. I had it up here a second ago. Here it is. Initial intensity plots for the storm. On the lower end, okay, on the lower end are roughly 40, 50 knots, which would be 60, 65 miles an hour. You know, so you've got a tropical storm on the lower end of the intensity plots, but on the higher end, you're looking at 75 knots, which would put you at about 90 miles an hour or so. So again, you know, it has just in the last couple of minutes been dubbed an invest. Okay, so now we're able to start running computer model data, and the very first, and I haven't even gotten a chance to put it in our weather computer yet because I'm here talking to you, but the very first data coming in shows a tropical storm, potentially a hurricane moving in. And so because of this, we need to be talking about our prep timeline. I don't love using this graphic, but I think that it gets the job done. The confidence in this forecast is sitting medium. We've got a pretty good idea what's going to happen. We just don't have the, you know, the exact specifics, right? And the devil is in the details. But at this point in time, we're days ahead. So for today, you know, and if you've watched me a long time, you know I am not about hype. I'm not. That's just absolutely against what I do. But I would say at the moment, start thinking about, all right, may have a little tropical something or other. May have a tropical depression or tropical storm. And if the GFS continues to play out, may have a hurricane moving into South Florida. If that's the case, what do I need to do, right? For me, for example, bringing in patio furniture in that event. If you live, you know, in an area where you have shutters, things like that, you know, today's not the day to do it. We don't have enough data by any stretch. But, you know, that's where Tuesday and Wednesday would play in, right? Okay, so for now, just start thinking about the possibility. In the back of your mind, do what I'm doing. Like my days off are Thursday and Friday. I've already come to the acceptance that that's just not going to happen. So for you, you know, start thinking about what this would mean. For tomorrow, maybe it means, you know, when you go to the grocery store, you may pick up an extra this or an extra that, just in case. You know, and then that storm threat would be like a late Wednesday into Thursday kind of thing, okay? Cheryl says, so South Florida is definitely getting something. I would tell you Florida is definitely getting something. So let's do this. Let's look at computer models, okay? Shall we do that? I think that will at least help to illustrate where we're at. Okay, so if you're listening to us in podcast form, I will do my best to be as descriptive as I can, all right? So this is the raw 6Z GFS. Now, if you follow me on social media, you've already seen kind of an overarching version of this as to where things go, but we'll take the specifics. It's unorganized, as you can see right here, but watch through time. Starting to deepen, becoming a low. That's 21Z on Monday. 21Z is 4 p.m. Monday, okay? 998 low. A 998 low would be a strong tropical storm, low-end hurricane, okay? Continuing to hang out, but finding the warm waters. That's a 991 low. That's Wednesday at 3Z, which is technically 10 p.m. on Tuesday. Getting into the Bahamas, what is that, a 985 low? A 985 low, you know, you're talking a hurricane. This is the GFS, one run, one model. Bringing that center of circulation in is a 977 low. A 977 low would be a hurricane. You know? That is 6Z Thursday, which is 1 a.m. Thursday, coming ashore. And then notice, moving across the state, out to the Gulf, and then looping back around into the Big Bend. That's Friday morning. And then finally pulling out. So if you look at time for the tropical system around, you've got landfall 6Z Thursday or 1 a.m. Thursday, still around Florida through 21Z Friday or 4 p.m. Friday. So you're looking at like a day and a half of something of a tropical system in the area, at least according to the GFS model, okay? Certainly we don't love it, but here we are, right? All right, what about the European model, right? Let's dial that up. All right, I'm going to use the ensemble control just because that will run longer. But here it is, European. Notice it's weaker. European timeline is about the same, position is about the same, but it's 1,001 millibars on landfall, which is a tropical storm instead of, you know, a hurricane. But still moving out to the Gulf, becoming a 999 low. 999 low would be, you know, a strong tropical storm. And then looping back around, okay? So both the GFS and the European are agreeing on overall timeline, agreeing on overall positioning, but not agreeing on intensity. And that's where, you know, we're gonna have to dial things in a little bit. Let's do this. Let's come over to the GFS ensembles and let's look at what the ensemble members are showing. Let's do this. There we are. All right, so all the members of the GFS. Now, before I even go further, if you're new to Coffee Talk, first off, welcome. If you're new to Coffee Talk, this is what an ensemble is. Think of it as like 51 flavors of the GFS. Each one just tweaked a little bit, which allows us to really get into the specifics of what models are putting out, okay? So what you're looking at is low positions of different flavors of the GFS. And, you know, they're pretty much in agreement. But what I'm trying to do is look at the numbers, 997, 992, 994, 999, 995. So the GFS ensemble members kind of bringing it around Florida, and then from there, looping it back around. Okay, so that's pretty much, I don't want to say it's set in stone, but the model consistency is there. And the more you have model consistency, obviously the higher the confidence goes. All right, here's the European. Consistent in positioning and in timing. All right, so to this point, I would continue to say Florida's going to get something this week, you know, which just ups the need to think that timeline. Do I think we're talking about a major Hurricane Ian? Absolutely not. I do not. But could we be talking about a hurricane into South Florida and a strong tropical storm into our area? I do. We could be talking about that, okay? So keep that in mind. And in terms of impacts around Central Florida, this is about as good as we can do dialing it down. Mid to late week, all right? And I could even say timeline could be more of a late week type deal. In terms of risks, beach erosion, coastal flooding, absolutely my biggest concerns. But could we be talking about gusty winds and heavy downpours? Yeah, for sure. Tropical, subtropical depression, storm, maybe even a hurricane, according to the GFS. So at this point, we don't know the specifics. What we do know, something's coming here. We've known that for days. We've been saying for days. I feel like Coffee Talk Thursday and Friday of last week was, it's going to be a raw week. Do I think it's going to be a big bad hurricane? No, I still don't. But could it be a low-end hurricane? Yeah, it could. All right? All right, now to your questions, your comments, and your concerns. How warm are the water temperatures in the Atlantic? Mid to upper 80s, depending on the exact positioning, but plenty warm for tropical cyclone development. Plenty warm for that, yep. Let's see here. Always informed, never hyped. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Morning, do you have the impact county? I do not have counties yet. It's just too early for that. And I don't want to give you poor information. I want to give you good data, but I'm not going to give you garbage. Spaghetti models yet, Rosebud, they're going to start running. So later today we'll have it, and I promise you later today I will be sharing it. As soon as it comes in, I will get it right out on my social media channels. Okay? I promise you that. Unorganized, but looks pretty large. Well, yeah, it's definitely weak right now. There's not much there. But over the next couple of days, as it kind of consolidates, that's where we're looking at not only just the development as a whole, but as it kind of works in this general direction, obviously local impacts will start to play out. Just when one thinks hurricane season is almost over, but almost over or not, right? Isn't that the frustrating part? Almost over or not, here we are. Yep. Christopher says this is a bad case for us in Southwest Florida. If there's any good news in this, it's the fact that this is not going to hit Southwest Florida directly. It would be rain, it would be some gusty winds, but it's more of a Florida East Coast event, like Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade, the Treasure Coast, up through the Space Coast, and then kind of just looping up and around. But it's a lot of rain, and that's the concern. Michelle's asking about rain totals. That is, you know, we're still so soggy from Ian, right? And here's a look at some of the rainfall numbers. Like the Euro, less bullish, throwing out 3 to 5 inches of rain the next couple of days. The GFS throwing out 5 to 8 inches of rain. Now, it's not 24 like what we were looking at with Ian, but it's still plenty of rain. Don't love plenty of rain. Still plenty of rain, yeah. If it's a hurricane now, why will it be in future cycles? Well, Beverly, I mean, I would imagine that, you know, this is to me the main feature that I am looking at in our new LRC cycle thus far, to be honest with you. All right, so let's look at wind comparisons, and let's just kind of get an idea of the GFS versus the Euro. So here's Tuesday at 4 a.m., okay? According to the Euro, we're already going to be talking about some pretty gusty winds along the beaches, but the Euro is coming in a little quicker than the GFS is, okay? So there's the most intense winds off the shoreline through Wednesday. Notice right here, okay, that's 6 a.m. Thursday. Notice you've got the European throwing some tropical storm force wind gusts into Brevard County, whereas you've got strong tropical storm force wind gusts, even hurricane force winds along shoreline communities on the GFS. The GFS is definitely the more bullish of the models when we look side by side, right? Like, for example, this is 8:30 a.m. Thursday morning. If this plays out, Martin, Palm Beach, St. Lucie counties, those browns, that's hurricane force winds, right? That's 11:30 a.m. Thursday. You're talking about strong tropical storm force winds in our southern areas. And then moving out from there, out toward Tampa Bay and the Nature Coast, that's Thursday evening, and then kind of just looping up and around, but staying pretty gusty for us, 30, 35, 40 miles per hour, all the way through like Friday evening before finally calming down. So based on, how do I say this? Based on what I'm seeing, this is the overall idea. Okay, and again, we're not identifying amounts of wind or anything like that, but for now, we're looking at Brevard County having the biggest wind concern as of right now. Not sure how much, we have to watch and see it play out. But you could be talking about some tropical storm force winds, even some higher end tropical storm force winds. Into the metro, the wind threat is going to be lower, okay, but it's really going to be mostly a coastal deal on our East Coast. But we'll have to, we have to dial through model run after model run after model run. We're just not quite there to have exacts yet. But again, if there's one thing that I want to make sure you know, model tracks and timeline are fairly steady. The European's a little faster than the GFS, but they're fairly steady. The one thing that has my eyeballs is the fact that the GFS has trended stronger. And I don't want anyone caught off guard. I was talking to a colleague just this morning. Said South Florida's not preparing at all. Well, this time of year, tropical systems tend to be more homegrown, which is definitely what this would be. And I have a concern that people are not going to be preparing as they should. So, yeah, I won't let us, our community, not be prepared. It's easier to start the prep timeline, right? Like in news, I tell the managers all the time, it's easier to make a plan, work through executing that plan, and then throw it to the side and say we don't need to do it, versus being behind the 8 ball and not having a plan to work. And now you're trying to throw together a plan and get it done last second. So we're working our storm prep timeline, all right? Assuming a storm is moving our area Thursday, and assuming it's a tropical storm, today, just start thinking, what's my week look like? Like for me, I've got a school talk on Thursday night. Today, I'm probably going to be sending an email canceling because I don't think I'm going to be at Lake Nona Middle School, Lake Nona Elementary, wherever it is. I don't think I'm going to be there Thursday. I think I'm going to be sitting in this chair on my tuchus. All right, and then for tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, if we're still looking this direction, if the storm still looks like it's going to be a thing impacting us, then we keep working our list, right? That's all. Do I think the airport's going to close? At this point in time, I don't know. We'll have to watch and see. I don't know. It's just too early. You know, the problem here is we've gotten so good at forecasting the weather that we're able to talk early about things. The problem is that expectations are, well, what about this and what about this? Know what you know, but know what you don't know as well, right? And that's it. Scott says, last hurricane season for me, give me a snowstorm any day over hurricanes. Some feel that way. I don't feel that way. Christine, how much time, my dear? 2:40. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's where we're at, people. One last look so that we're on the same page. There is the forecast from the National Hurricane Center as is now. It is an invest. We are just going to start to get computer model data on this. We don't have much, okay? But what we do know is it's heading our direction and it will be developing right up to landfall, okay? We're going to be here. Your entire first morning weather team will be here updating you. I can promise you this, zero hype. I will not hype the storm. I will give you the real information. I will answer your questions as best I can. I will tell you what I can. And when I say things like it's too early to tell, don't get mad at me. But I'm not going to give you garbage data, okay? All right, I will do a quick update today in the afternoon. I will do a 3:30 afternoon coffee talk. Just to update you, it's going to be quick, but just want to make sure to update you. And I will be posting to Twitter and Facebook through the day. I am also going to be posting each model run as it comes in. All right? All right, listen, be the sunshine in someone else's day. Start thinking about the potential of a storm this week, all right? Be the sunshine. I'll see you all at 3:30. Bye, guys.